Hey there, how's it going? Today I'm going to talk about my sort of arsenal of bait finesse gear. I've had a few people ask me about this. Hopefully none of my photography friends give me a hard time over this, because it's harsh light, there's no clouds today, but it's just a matter of sometimes you got to film these things when you get a chance. And really it's more about the gear than how good the lighting is on my face or whatever. I don't know if this surprised me or not, but I've got 12 combos plus one extra rod that I'm going to cover. So I'm going to try to cover them fairly fast. Some of these I already have full reviews on. Most of them I have unboxings on as well. And the ones that I don't have reviews on, I'm going to work on getting reviews done over the next month or so. Okay, so this is really the rod that started it all out. This is the Dark Wolf Ultra reel on the Lemoren Wind Shadow rod. This is, as you can see, this is a very light flick rod. I really use this for trout. It's one of my favorite rods to use still, because it's so fun. The downsides are it really doesn't handle really big fish, like, you know, powerful bass, stuff like that. It is a 130, so it's like a 4'6" rod. It can handle 1 to 6 gram lures and like 2 to 8 pound line. It's a little gaudy looking, you know, it's not the most you know, restrained looking rod, but it's a lot of fun to use. And really this is the rod and reel that really hooked me on bait finesse. So this one's always going to have a special place in my heart. I've sort of got these set up from lightest power to heaviest power, and then broken into two different categories. I've got the sort of the Chinese reels, and then the Japanese slash, you know, American, or at least Japanese brand reels. Sort of the higher end stuff over here. So we'll just sort of work from left to right. So the next setup that I have, this is the Mavllos Delicacy. I've fished it a few times. It's a good rod. It's really sensitive. There's nothing hugely special about it. It does have two tips. This is the lighter one is rated down to right around like 0.8 grams or so, 0.6 grams actually. 0.6 on the lighter one, 0.8 on the heavier one. I do like the white tip on this. It's nice. It's, you know, for the price, this is a fantastic rod. And honestly, almost every single one of these you can't go wrong with. It's just some are better, and as you move up the price ranks, generally you get a little bit better quality out of it and a better fishing experience. This is the second Dark Wolf Ultra reel. Both of my Dark Wolf Ultras are first generation, the ones that had the under-braked situation, and so they've been modified with extra magnets. The next rod is the Obsession Trout Sensation. I really do like this rod. I've caught a very large, well, not a very large, but large for BFS. I've caught a carp on this. I haven't caught a ton of bass on it yet. And honestly, I haven't caught a ton of fish. It's a relatively new addition for me. But it's a nice reel, but the quality, you know, if you look at, you can tell that it's an inexpensive reel. You know, all the bubbles and the epoxy and stuff like that. My favorite part of it's probably the hook keeper, the way it flips around. On this I have the Soranoia Genius. It's an 8.1. It's essentially a version of the Dark Wolf Ultra. It has much better brakes. And it's good. I mean, it's a nice functional reel. I like the blue color. It's comfortable. You can't go wrong with this setup. This is probably, between the two of them, this is like a $140 setup. The next one I have is this is the Ace Hawk Venom with the Kingdom Micro Monster reel. Now the Kingdom Micro Monster is another Dark Wolf Ultra clone. But for some reason, for me, it seems a little smoother. It casts better. It casts lightweight a little bit farther. It's been a little bit more repeatable as a reel. So from that perspective, I sort of like it. There's I think the two gear ratios, there's a pink version and a purple version. The pink would have gone better with the Venom. But honestly, Kingdom was very honest with me when I ordered this. They were having some quality control problems, and so they wanted to send me this version instead of the other one because they thought it was going to be better. The variation in this compared to maybe the Genius and the Dark Wolf Ultras, and the way it just feels a little bit better, really could just come down to manufacturing tolerances, and this one is just put together extremely well, and the other ones are average. They're not bad. This particular one just seems a little bit smoother, and it feels a little bit more fluid. And again, its casting distance on lightweights is even better. That was with the 5'6" Venom. I had the original Venom. It had some issues. This is the updated version, and all of those issues have been resolved in my opinion. In fact, this is a 7-foot version. I really like this rod. It is rated down to 1 gram, so it's 1 to 6 grams, and 1 to 4 pound weight. It's a really great lightweight rod. It feels good all around. The grip maybe is a hair short for my hands and the way I like to fish, but overall it's been a great rod. I haven't fished it nearly as much as I thought I would, and there are reasons for that, but the ASOC Venom might be one of the best values out there at this point. All the ones that I've had seem to be finished really well, and I'll get into that because I've had 3 of them. The first one, the tip broke, and it had problems with the reel seat. Again, those have been resolved, and then this was sent to me as a replacement for that one. I have a 5'6" version, which is what I had originally. It's still in the package. Like I've never had it out, so I don't remember if these come with tags or not. I've never put this one together. So actually, yeah, there's only this is a 2-piece rod. The 7-footer is a 3-piece rod. This one is a 2-piece rod, but this one has not seen the water yet. When they sent me the replacement, they sent me both of them just because I had one of the early ones that had a couple manufacturing defects. This rod we're not really going to talk about, but this is the Kastking Centron Lite. If you've watched my channel at all, you know that I am not a fan of Kastking at this point. They've had too many problems with the products that I've ordered, and then on top of that, the customer service is honestly some of the worst customer service I've had from any company. Granted, I'm dealing with Kastking out of Asia. I hear that Kastking USA, their customer service is a lot better, but that brings me to one of the problems. Kastking only sells products to the United States that are extremely highly priced, extremely marked up compared to what you can get them overseas. You used to be able to order Kastking products and get them fairly inexpensively, and now that's getting harder and harder to do. So the Centron, I really wanted this to be a great travel rod, but it just, with all of the problems they've had around this rod, around their customer service, I'm not even going to fish it, so this is going to get sold. While we're talking about Kastking, this is the Kastking Valiant Eagle. Had an unboxing on it. I have a video about how I had also ordered the Kestrel. Now, you used to be able to get this reel from AliExpress, and it was, I think I paid $48 for this. For $48, this is a fantastic reel. It routinely goes for like $55 to $58. It would be a pretty good reel, even though it's a little overbraked. But I think for a beginner who's just getting into it, this would be fantastic. The problem is that they won't sell it in the American market. They have a nicer version of this that has a magnesium body and a couple more bearings, and they sell it in the U.S. market for like $220 to $250. Where, like I said, I got this for $48. So, you know, between that again and the customer service, I can't recommend Kastking products, and so this one I did fish a couple times, and I won't do a full review on it. I'm not going to do a review on the rod, and this will get sold as well. I just think there are so many better options out there than to waste your time with Kastking at this point. With the games, the marketing things that they play, the way they try to keep you from buying their budget reels if you're in America, it just sort of feels like they say, oh, Americans have money, so we're not going to give them good budget equipment. It's a little aggravating. Next reel is the YLT Tank. This reel started out life on an Obsession bass rod. I've caught catfish on this. I've caught nice smallies. It performs really well. The issue that I had with it and why I stopped using it is extremely loud in the thumb button. So the way it clicks, both when you push it down, but also when it clicks in, it's very, very loud. It does have a little bit of play, but I think this was like a $70 reel. It was based on some of the Daiwa designs for the brakes, I like it a lot. It's not the lightest reel, but it works great. I think if you were routinely going to throw like 2 grams and up, this would be a great reel. This is sort of like, in some ways, like maybe the Chinese version of the Alphas Air, or like the Shimano Curado BFS. I liked it. It's just, as I was editing videos, that clicking noise was just, it was too much for me to take, and I figured if it was annoying me, it was probably annoying you too. So that's why I don't use this one anymore. So that's sort of like my Chinese domestic market stuff, the CDM stuff, if you want to call that. The other rods and reels, I do have one Chinese rod in here just because it has performed really well, and I just don't have another rod to put in there in its spot yet, but I will probably fairly soon. Right now it just it serves a great purpose in being able to throw some of my power BFS stuff. So let's talk about some of the Japanese market stuff. The first one is the Yamaga Blanks Blue Current 353B. This entire rod weighs 66 grams. It's almost not here. It's absolutely beautiful out in the sunlight. I have fished this a little bit. I bought this when the Shimano Calcutta Conquest BFS was supposed to come out in February, because I was going to get one of the Conquest and this, take it down to Florida for the Bait Finesse retreat that I did in early March. But that didn't come in, so I did throw the Aldebaran on this for a couple times. It does really well. It's beautiful. It's going to be a phenomenal trout stream rod, and it really fills a nice niche. This is it can throw down to about 0.5, 0.6 grams. It does. I've thrown around 1 gram on it extremely well. So I'm looking forward to more trout fishing with this. It would probably handle bass fairly well also, but if I'm targeting bass, I'm going to go after something else. So that's the Yamaga Blanks. It's not the most expensive rod I have, but it's probably pretty close, and it feels like it. The sensitivity on this, by the way, was absolutely lights out. There's one other rod that I have in here that I think rivals this one for sensitivity, and but this thing just it's a great rod. So if you ever get a chance to get a Yamaga Blanks rod, they're pretty much all handmade, as I understand, in Japan. The thing they do with their rods is, I learned from somebody after I got this, they make their rods in batches, and they basically make an entire year's forecast at one time for each rod style. So when you see one of them for sale, probably buy it, because once they're out, you may not see them again for another year. But I really like this rod. The next rod, again, working up sort of in power, it's actually a prototype that I'm working on with a company, and we're not really ready to say who I'm working with yet, but I've taken a couple trips with this, and I am absolutely thoroughly impressed. So whether it's 6 months, whether it's 9 months, or a year before these are ready to hit the market, I think if you want a premium rod, this thing is it's amazing. And actually we've been discussing maybe having a series of rods. So if you want to watch the evolution, I at some point we'll name who it is, and then you can sort of get on the wait list to be one of the first to get one. But subscribe to the channel, and because I'll be fishing with this rod and a few others a good bit throughout the summer and probably into the fall. Again, I've been blown away. I don't even know what it's rated, so there's no ratings on this rod. I do have a couple of things covered up here just for confidentiality's sake. So I don't know what it's supposed to be rated at, and that's again part of I think what they're expecting me to do is really torture test these things and figure out what are the limits on both sides. And I'm having fun doing that. Right now I have the Aldebaran on it because when I unboxed it, I'm like, this feels like it's maybe a lighter rod. I thought maybe it'd be rated down to 2 or 3 grams. I'm now starting to think that it might be capable of throwing even a 1 gram, but still catching 20+ inch fish. This thing is so far pretty incredible, and this is just a prototype. So there are a few changes that hopefully they'll make, a couple things that I've noticed, but it's one of the most impressive rods that I've used right out of the box. And so if they make a couple things better, arguably it could be one of the best rods on the market. So I'm honored to be able to be part of the development of this product line for an amazing company. And I wish I could tell you more because I'm so excited about it, but it's just it's not the right time. So, but that's it's part of why I have a little bit of a weird setup too. But I'll have some more prototype stuff coming in. The next setup is this is a Major Craft Finetail glass with the Daiwa Silver Creek Stream Custom. This was probably my 4th or 5th setup that I bought, but I tell you what, this if you are looking for an accurate stream rod, whether you're fishing for bass or whether you're fishing for trout or something else, if you fish tight streams, you need to make pinpoint accurate casts all the time. You still want good feel, but you don't need to bomb it. This setup is amazing. I think this is a 4'10" rod. Yeah, so it's a 4'10". It's fiberglass. I think it's actually a glass composite. I don't think it's full fiberglass, but it's not the whippy fiberglass. You know, it's hopefully that shows up. You know, it's got some nice backbone. I think I've caught 2 PB rainbow trout on this setup, and my PB largemouth bass surprisingly came out of this in fairly swift moving water about a year ago. And I really love using this for trout, and it's honestly most of these setups I enjoy so much. It's why I've been using some of my AliExpress and CDM stuff a little bit less. This is not an inexpensive setup. It's probably not the most expensive setup. It's close though, but this thing it's amazing. And honestly, to me, it looks a little old school. If you see here, I mean, it's been through the ringer. I didn't clean up all my gear either. I want you to understand that I use this stuff and I abuse it, and because I want to be able to tell you how it's working and how it doesn't. I don't want these to be like just showpieces. I want to use all the gear that I have. The next setup, the more I use this, the more I enjoy it. If you saw my first paddleboard video, this was the setup that hooked into the giant snook. I think this is the Jinko double down rod with the Daiwa Gekkabijin reel. I think this is a great all-around setup for lightweight. It can bomb 1 gram lures, a long distance. I cast trout flies with a Chebaraska rig on this. I really enjoy it. The downside of the double down, and a lot of rods have this, and it's part of some of the stuff we're trying to design in the other rods. The guide spacing on the double down combined with how much flex it has. I love the moderate flex, but this only has, I think, 7 guides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This only has 7 guides, and it's I think 6'6". Yeah, 6'6", as compared to the prototype rod that I'm working on. It's 6'8", and I think it's got 12 guides. Part of that is we're trying to make sure that we minimize any opportunity for big fish to create line rub, because what happened on that giant snook is the rod was doubled over so much I got friction from the line on the rod, and that's actually what broke the line. It didn't break in the water, it broke at the rod, and so that was a little disappointing. But as a general trout rod, as a crappie fishing rod, so one nice thing about the double down is it's got larger guides than most BFS rods, and so that means you can put a slip bobber on there and it's not going to get hung up. So that is one benefit of it. I think it's a phenomenal crappie rod. It's a great lightweight rod, and it gives you a little bit of extra distance because it's 6'6". And honestly, I do really like it. It's almost like the grip is almost like a wind style grip it's a rubberized. It's very tacky. It seems like the wetter it gets, the more it sticks. So grip wise, I think it's phenomenal. And plus it pairs really good with the Gekkabijin. I think it's rated down to 1/80th of an ounce. I like the rod a lot, and I look forward to continuing to use it for quite a while. Next one is this rod. This is the Expride rod. This is an original, like I think it's 2013. It's the 163 medium light BFS. So when people say things like, well, BFS is only up to like 6 grams or 8 grams or whatever size they put on it. You know, Shimano is one of the pioneers of bait finesse, and their bait finesse rods are rated to 15 grams for some of their bass rods. Now they have trout rods too, which stay down around that 6 gram range. But for some of their trout, or for some of their bass rods, I don't know if people are getting the trout side and the bass side confused, whatever it is, but you know, bait finesse is not just throwing super light lures. You can be throwing lighter versions of traditional lures. Instead of throwing a 110 series jerkbait, maybe you're going to throw a 65 or a 75. Instead of throwing a giant topwater lure to walk the dog, maybe you're going to throw the juniors or the minis. But they still get up there and weight a little bit. The other side of it is that the heavier rods are they're more effective at fighting the bigger fish, and so you can still throw ultralight line. You know, I'm throwing like 8 and 9 pound braid on these things, sometimes even less, and it works really well. When you think about bait finesse, you know, for me, there's really 3 different ranges that I've identified. So one is the gear that'll do 1 gram. The next one is like that 3 to 6 or 8 gram range, sort of like that moderate finesse, where a lot of the purists say, well, that's the end of it. But then there's the power finesse that goes clear up to maybe 15 grams. You know, this is rated 5 to 15 grams. I have a couple other rods in that, and I enjoy them a lot. And you know, I'm not always just throwing finesse stuff, you know, stuff that's marketed as bait finesse, but it's within that range. It's a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait with a trailer. The reel on this one is the SLX DC XT. This is the DC reel that I can easily throw 2 grams on it. It's been a lot of fun. It doesn't have the distance as some of the other reels, I will say that, but it's got a ton of forgivability, and you can just you know, on windy days, this thing, I don't even worry about what I'm throwing, and if the wind kicks up, it's no big deal. This is still one of my favorite rods. You know, it's really one of the benchmarks that I'm comparing the prototype rods that I'm working on to this, and so if it performs at this level or better, we got something. And honestly, right out of the gate, they're doing phenomenal. That's the Shimano Expride BFS on the SLX DC, or the SLX DC XT on the Shimano Expride SLX. Now this is the Shimano Curado BFS. It's been getting a lot of use. It's actually on an Obsession Mojo bass rod. This rod is one of those rods that just really impresses me. Now, what I will say is, the more I've used it alongside the other ones, as I sort of moved it into the lineup with the other Japanese and higher end rods, it lacks in sensitivity. But it can throw 2 to 3 grams, and it can throw 15 grams equally well. It has a good bit of backbone. It's very comfortable. But just the blank itself, it's I don't want to say it's well, I'll say it's a little dead feeling compared to the other stuff. I've started using it for, you know, things that I'm not worried about the sensitivity quite as much. You know, the last time I had it out, I was throwing a swim bait. I'll throw a spinner bait on it. It may get some crankbaits on it. But for things where I want to be able to maybe feel the bottom, like jig fishing and Ned rig fishing, I don't feel like this is the best rod. But for now, it's got the Curado on it. And honestly, out of all of my JDM reels, and of course the Curado's not JDM, right? So this is an American market reel. It's supposed to be better than the next reel I'm going to talk about, but in my experience so far, this is my least favorite, other than the Daiwa Alphas Air, which I've already gotten rid of, which was my first reel, by the way. You know, it's good. I've got the optional brakes, or the optional brakes out of this one to get the casting distance that I want. One thing I do need to do before I sort of do a final review on this is I need to change. This is the only setup that I've used Power Pro line on, and I wonder if the Power Pro line isn't affecting it a little bit. I've been using a lot of Daiwa J-braid, and it performs pretty well across the board. So at some point I'll probably throw some J-braid on this before I do a final review on it. You know, I don't have any immediate plans to stop using the Curado BFS. I do expect that as I get 1 or 2 more of the new prototype rods in, that the Curado will find its way onto one of those, probably one of the more power-oriented rods, and then the Mojo bass will probably not be in the lineup anymore. And I've been trying to move fairly quickly. This is the latest addition. This is the Shimano SLX BFS, and I put it on a Kistler rod. The thing about the Kistler rods, you know, they don't really have any bait finesse rods, but when I was looking at trying to get another American rod, because the Jenko Double Down is American, so when I was looking at so, okay, what are the American rods out there? There was Old 18 was one that I was looking at, Cashin was another one I was looking at, and then Kistler was another one I was looking at. And the specs on the Helium, this is under 100 grams on the rod. I think it was like right at 96 when I weighed it. Now, this Kistler rod is not marketed as a bait finesse rod. It's a 7-foot medium light, but it's rated down to a 1/16 of an ounce. And it says up to 3/8 of an ounce. And honestly, in the time that I've been fishing it, I think it handles a lot more than that. But it's nice and lightweight, and plus cosmetically it pairs really nice with the SLX. The gray and the gray, the black and the black, the blue and the blue. And you know how I like setups that look well together. You know, kind of like some of my other favorites. They look awesome together as well as they fish awesome. I bought this specifically for fishing paddle tail swim baits. I wanted something that was a little bit faster action, something that had the backbone to deal with, you know, smallmouth and big trout. Overall, I've been very happy with it. I wasn't sure if it was really going to have, you know, the right feel to do bait finesse or power finesse, really, because that's really what it is. It's more of a power finesse application. But I tell you, this thing has been amazing. I've caught a handful of fish on it. I absolutely love it, and it's fantastic. So again, this reel is a 6.3 gear ratio because I wanted a slower reel. Most of my other ones are 7.1, 7.4, 8.1. I think the Aldebaran is 8.6. So I wanted something that was a little bit slower, just to have that slow, lazy, strolling feel for the paddle tail swim baits. And so that was part of what I was trying to do with that. So that's sort of the current setup. You know, if anybody ever says to you, hey, welcome to the BFS Rabbit Hole, well, this maybe is it. I know there are people that are worse off, that have, you know, 30 reels and stuff. I've only got a dozen. You know, I don't use that many reels. So all of these, with the exception of this, are gonna go away. I don't enjoy using them as much as I enjoy using the Japanese market stuff. And actually on the UPS truck, there's something else coming. I'll talk about that here in just a second. But this has a special place in my heart because it is the combo that really reignited my absolute passion for fishing. It opened up a whole new world, and I have caught more. I think I'm now up to 13 or 14 personal bests since I started using this rod. Now, I didn't catch them on this rod, maybe one of them, but it's just the idea of, like, it has really turned me into just this, you know, absolute crazy fisherman again. And for that, I'll always be indebted to it. And plus, it's just with this little flick rod action, I don't have anything else like this. So this one is staying. Everything else, it's going to go away from here over. I don't have any plans to buy any other rods or reels. Daiwa has the SS Air coming out. I don't know if it comes out in the summer or the fall. I really do want to try one of those. And so, you know, a friend and a friend of the channel, John's Fishing Journeys, I think he's got one pre-ordered. So maybe at some point we'll be able to meet up and I'll be able to just try his out for a short period of time or something. I don't know, if I don't buy one myself. The reason I don't know if I'm going to do it right away is I do have this line of the prototype rods that I'll be working on through the summer. So you'll be seeing those show up on the channel. I don't know how that's all going to work yet, whether, you know, you'll see them on the channel for an extended period, or some of them like you'll see once or twice maybe, and then I'll have to send them back. Again, don't know all those details yet, but it's not just rods that this company is working on. So UPS will be bringing me 2 prototype reels as well, and so that's part of why I'm like, I'm going to get rid of these, just because I don't really have the room to store everything safely, and I'm not going to use them. I sort of felt like the Venom, the 7-foot one, I thought maybe I would hold on to that because it's there is something a little special about it. But I've decided I'm not going to do that. So all of those will be going away. They'll find new homes, and over the coming 3, 6, 9 months that I'm working on developing these rods, testing these rods really. You know, I gave them some initial specs, but you know, my job is just to, hey, do you like them or not at this point. You'll be seeing a lot of those along with some of my other Shimano and Daiwa stuff and those setups that I'm using. So that'll be the deal. Some of you guys have been asking for this video. Before I get rid of these, I will film reviews on everything that I haven't done a review on, with the exception of the 2 Kastking things that I mentioned. So I think there's 3 reels, 3 rods that I still have yet to film the reviews for. So I'll do those over the next month. If there's one of those that you want to see specifically, let me know and I'll pull it forward, because I'll probably just sort of drizzle those out over the next few months or whatever as I'm doing all the other stuff. Typically I like to do my reviews when I don't have other fishing videos coming out. You know, I got all kinds of videos filmed right now. So anyway, that's it. That's the overview. I know this went long, but I don't know how I was going to get through 12 setups and all of the other stuff in 5 minutes. So hope you enjoyed it. Leave me your thoughts. Do you have any of these? Which ones are your favorites? You know, tell people below, because just like all of my other sort of review and overview videos, if there's something that I didn't say about these, leave it in the comments, because it will help other people as they're trying to figure things out. So again, thanks for watching. Let me know what your favorite is, and I'll see you next time.